Welcome, TEI family, to another episode of The Everyday Investor. Today we have very special guests with us. These gentlemen are serial entrepreneurs and inventors who hold multiple patents between them. Please help me welcome Elliot Heinrich and Kevin Moran. How's it going, gentlemen?
Hello.
You guys hear me?
Loud and clear.
Okay, nice. I appreciate you guys giving me some time today and kind of talking about what you guys have going on. I think it's very interesting, especially from a patent attorney. Now I know I didn't mention this earlier, but I guess the goal of the podcast is to help people invest in themselves. And again, that can be over a lot of different industries. I know today, with my background as a patent attorney, I have seen firsthand how just someone getting or obtaining a patent and how that can really kind of take off and lead to a lot of different opportunities and really create like financial success and generational wealth for the inventors or for the company that they start. So I think this is different, but I do think I want to start bringing on more inventors that's coming on and talking about their experiences because this the patent process, which we get off and talk a little bit about your guys' experience with it, but it can be maybe overwhelming to a lot of people when they start thinking about how to break through and an ideal and how to bring it to market. And you guys have done that time and time again, which is impressive. And hopefully, guys, your guys' experience and I'm hoping that will shed light and give others, I guess, what they need to maybe kind of jumpstart their path as entrepreneurs and inventors. So I guess maybe before I get off into you guys' individual backgrounds, I guess my question is, how did you guys meet each other? Because I know you guys come from different fields. I know Elliot, you are more so the marketing and advertising, and Kevin, you're more on the engineering side. So how did you guys meet and kind of hook up as a team?
We actually have been friends since
Nice.
9. We have our parents have live up north, and we have, I'm from Ann Arbor, but I used to spend the summers up there quite a bit in the fall, and that's where Ellie and I rendezvoused, and then we actually ended up going through and being college roommates.
Okay, nice. So both of you guys went to Michigan Tech then?
Yes.
Oh, that's pretty cool. And so this was not, when it was time to come together and work on these different projects, it wasn't like, okay, I need to vet this guy. I need to see if he's serious, if he's a good decision maker. It was like, no, I mean, I've known this guy since the college days, and man, this is the real, both of you guys, I'm pretty sure can vouch for each other. So I guess it made that much, that decision making just a lot easier as compared to trying to come in and really not knowing each other and seeing if it'll be a good fit to work with each other from a business standpoint.
Yeah, absolutely. And in fact, I had moved to Minneapolis to begin my career. Kevin was in Michigan. And to the point of your podcast, this all really started from us having a conversation on, I believe it was Super Bowl of 2019, of how can we drive some additional income, some passive incomes, maybe invent something to be able to be financially independent and not rely on our day jobs. And that started with us just identifying problems that we faced every day. And the first one happened to be, what really sucks? Changing your oil. You loosen the filter, it gets all over. And that's really what started this all. But yeah, like Kevin said, we've been great friends for years now, 20 plus years, coming up on 30. Geez.
Wow.
And yeah, it was a easy transition.
No, and that's interesting because typically you want to see that in terms of, okay, let's make some additional income. What some of the things we can do to make some additional income. Let's be inventors. That typically is in a conversation. Typically you will have, let's maybe start a business to do X or Y or Z, but maybe not to be inventors. So that seems different. I guess I'll like to ask a question. I'll start with you, Elliot, because it seems like Kevin, his background was more so in the engineering space where he has extensive experience with patents and being an inventor. How from your background, coming up in marketing and advertising side of things, was it tough for you, or was it like eye opening for you to think, okay, yeah, yes, I can do this. I can be an inventor.
It was difficult, I would say. So I work for AT&T, a large cell phone carrier. I work on the cell phone side of things, and marketing and sales. I do have a strong background in, but not in bringing something completely unheard of to market. And what we learned really quickly is when you have a new invention that solves a problem that hasn't been solved before, you need to communicate what that problem is before you can show up with the solution for it, because people have been doing it one way forever, and they need to be convinced that the problem is worth paying to solve. So that's just one of the things. And then of course, we do most of our sales on Amazon. That is still a 3-year in progress learning experience, but so difficult to say the least. But some of the things with customer relations, speaking to customers, that is something that I've built a lot of skill in over the years, just de-escalating, people that are upset, things like that. And that really has come in handy, especially in the early stages of our products, where we still had to make some tweaks to get it to the final version that you see today.
Nice. So would you say that, okay, I'm pretty sure both of you guys are involved when it comes to prototyping and making different changes to the product to make it better and better. But would you say that you more so focus on the marketing side of things and maybe talking to the customer from like that relationship side of things, and Kevin, you more so focus on like the engineering side of things and really making sure the product is where it needs to be to, I guess, reach the customers and solve for the problems that the customers are having?
Yeah, and back to your original question of why did we decide to team up? It was that mutually different background. You have 2 engineers in the room, they're going to focus on one thing. You got 2 sales guys in the room, they're going to focus on the other thing. And they're going to trivialize what's maybe important and maybe overemphasize what they understand.
Gotcha. Exactly.
And we knew we can't do that. So Elliot's background is complementary to my gaps. My background is complementary to Elliot's gaps. And we mutually really focus in on what product we want to do and why. That's very much a collaborative event. Then it's typically the Kevin show during the development and, during the development, sourcing, patent, legal side of getting the products and working with the vendors. And then it quickly transitions over more to the sales side, and Elliot tends to take over on the after end of the thing. But we don't go into it, I'm like, hey, I got an idea, and Elliot sells it. It's more like I got an idea or Elliot has an idea. We investigate whether the problems we're solving based on what we know so far, and we move forward with it.
Nice. And I want to kind of maybe flesh out a little bit of your background, Kevin, because did you work for Chrysler in corporate America? Was that correct, as an engineer?
Yeah, so my big corporate background was powertrain engineering and design. So that engine design specifically at Chrysler on the 3.6 team. And then I've been lucky enough to do some humanitarian work with a billionaire, which is one of the much stuff, but a lot of the lessons apply, and we transition some of those lessons into consumer product.
Okay. And then, because, I, as a patent attorney, a lot of times you work with a lot of inventors from, I guess, the corporate side of things. How would you, and I would imagine that you worked on a lot of, patents from your time in corporate America. How would you say that differs from kind of working on the side of things as an individual or a serial entrepreneur and inventor? Because I would imagine that it's you work with the patent attorney when you're at in corporate America, but it seems like it's maybe a buffer because you have in-house counsel, you have other co-inventors. There's a number of parties in between you and the patent attorney. Whereas as a entrepreneur, inventor with your own company, it's kind of more so you and the patent attorney, and it's not all these people in between that that, maybe take time and talk to the patent attorney. So I guess, how would you describe that difference?
It's night and day, to be very blunt. So corporate background, you come up with an idea, you're given essentially a specific set of circumstances, performance criteria, and you're looking at, options. And, you say you come up with something that's relatively clever, and basically in 6 to 8 months, you get a piece of paper that's slid on your desk that says, hey, take a look at the claims, see if there's anything ridiculous, sign this piece of paper, and you never see it again. And maybe you get $1,000 bonus. And, a lot of engineers are like, I got 7 patents. And it's like, cool. Like, okay, you wrote 7 signatures down and a lawyer talked to you for 13 minutes and then that's it. The individual patent process is like, holy smokes, you need to do everything. And it's coming in with initially selling yourself. You need to sell yourself to a patent attorney so they know you're not nuts. They know you're not another perpetual motion machine guy. And that you are not so, you are focused enough to where you're not going to waste their time with continuous changes.
Yep.
And so when you come in, you sell yourself, then you communicate the idea, then you follow up the communication with your learning process, that iterative process between the lawyer and you as to what the real deep level process is, going through claims, picking every little feature. I mean, when we work with Bob, it was, I came in with 5 or 6 things and he turned it into 21 or 22.
Yeah.
By breaking those things apart and going, well, what about this? Did you think about this? What if we do it folded? What if we do it unfolded? And you're going, holy smokes. I mean, there's a lot more to this. And then you walk it all the way back to making the claims and submitting the paperwork. And, every single word is did I read this sentence? Write a note back to Bob. I mean, it's night and day when it comes to working your savings. I call it kind of, are you using the corporate account or are you using your savings account for a patent? And if you're using your savings account for a patent, you care about every word, and that's a very different experience.
For sure. And so this is the thing, because I guess there's 2 things that I want to flesh out from what you were saying. I think number one is, what tips would you give inventors, just everyday people who are looking to, maybe kind of break into, they have an idea, they're trying to flush it out. They're looking to come to a patent attorney, but they want to get that patent attorney to take them serious. Because a lot of times as patent attorneys, it's easy to work with. Actually, we want to work with the big companies such as the Chrysler, such as the Ford Motor Company, because they're going to, give us that constant workflow that is going to feed us continuously, which is what you want. And a lot of times, unless we actually know that individual inventor, you typically don't have a whole lot of those come in. So I guess what feedback can one or both of you guys give to individual inventors to have those the patent attorney take them serious as they're coming into their office the first time?
I can start this one real quick. When it comes to being taken seriously, have a developed prototype. And I'm not talking a prototype that's completely sticks in mud. There's a lot of pressure and a lot of how do I want to say? In my opinion, there's too much pressure to patent and even do provisionals way too early in the process. Yep. Way too early in the process. And then there's the flip side, the inventor side, which is the disclosure paranoia. And when you add those together, you get lawyers pushing for provisionals and you get inventor paranoia, you get what's way too early of a stage of a prototype and way too early of an idea, or it's way too rushed. And so what I suggest is wait. To anybody developing an idea, get feedback. Nobody's gonna, I'm not saying post it on the internet, post it on Reddit. Don't do that. I'm saying get feedback from your neighbors or walk into a local shop. Just hand it to somebody and say, hey, I'm thinking of doing this as a problem. What do you think of it? Be ready for a real answer. And then convert that to what you think is the best PowerPoint presentation you've ever done in your life, and show up with the prototype, a pre-sent PowerPoint presentation. Yep. And at that point, you have to hope.
I like that. Elliot, did you have anything to add to, I'm sorry, go ahead. Were you finished, Kevin?
No, that's really, and we've never been turned down with that setup.
Nice. Obviously. Nice. Elliot, did you have anything to add to that?
No, I don't. I think Kevin nailed it.
Nice. So yeah, then I guess one of the things, because as you guys both know, this stuff can be expensive from a patent process. I say out of all the forms of intellectual property that you can file on, whether it's a trademark, whether it's a copyright, and a patent, your patent is going to be by far the most expensive. And I always tell single or individual inventors as they're going through this process for the first time to even seek out maybe a patentability search, because it's just because you haven't seen it out there. It's a ton of stuff that has been filed on and just maybe didn't get a patent or didn't get brought to market for whatever reason. That as a patent attorney, and as I go through this stuff, I can quickly, well, it can be $1,500, which 3 to 5 hours of a patentability search, that I can get a good idea of what's out there before you go spend, say, 7, 8, 9, 10 plus thousands of dollars once you file a patent application and kind of take it through the prosecution process. It may be worth spending $1,500 on a patentability search just to get an idea of what's out there. Is that something that you guys went through or did at all, or did you guys go straight for just filing the patent application based on the prototype that you had?
I guess I'll answer just because this is, I guess, kind of my world. The answer to that one is very simple. Is, again, you got to be a leader. You got to be a leader, and you need to lead the attorney initially with your work. Don't let them lead you, and that's nothing against attorneys. And so when we had 10, 12, we did our best job at using Google Patents and any other possible opportunity of anything in the space that said, hey, this is a catch basin. Bob ended up finding 3 or 4 other ones on the using legalese that said these were connected that we weren't aware of. But we had an Excel spreadsheet with links, numbers, everything. And we said, let's do a patentability study. Here's what we found so far. And he was only able to add, I think, 2 out of,
Okay.
I think we submitted about 9.
Nice. And again,
So,
go ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say that's a good point, because you guys, man, you guys are like the model inventors at that point, because a lot of times when someone comes in, number one, you hope that as a patent attorney, they likely don't have a prototype. They more have an idea that maybe they kind of have some sketches. But then number 2, they don't have an idea of what that market is or the landscape of patents or products within that space, which it seems like you guys had already did that homework and due diligence to come prepared or with a list of patents or publications that say, hey, this is what we found that's out there that we feel is relevant to what we have going on, which that, from my experience from doing this for almost 8 years, that rarely happens. It happens with more of the serial entrepreneurs, serial inventors, which will make sense given that you guys have kind of been at this a while and are doing this thing as far as multiple products and things like that. So that's actually pretty cool. So I guess getting off into the oil udder, and I think, Elliot, you talked about it a little bit before. What was okay, you guys are trying to figure out, okay, let's make some extra money here, and then what problems are out there that we can solve. So then from there, how did the oil udder come to be?
So the oil udder, I'll get us started, and then I know Kevin will probably have some other things to add. But like I said, it was Super Bowl 2019. It didn't have anything to do with us wanting to start a business or develop a product or anything. We were just watching the game, and then just talking about careers and really what we wanted to do, and this is going to sound kind of silly, but it came down to we wanted to make enough money to buy a sailboat to get into sailboat racing, and we're like, well, man, it's going to take forever with our day jobs and career growth and just how much time all that takes up, because even if you buy a sailboat and you have a full-time job, how much time do you have to sail it? So then we were just spitballing, and I think it was Kevin that said, he's like, man, what really sucks is removing your oil filter. And I had just changed the oil in my car like a couple days prior, and you're like, you know what? That is a giant pain. Why hasn't that been fixed? And then it went from there. And at this stage in the game, Kevin came up with some early prototypes and had them, the first ones made through another company that it doesn't look anything like the ones that are for sale now, and they looked kind of like an udder. So that's when we came up with the name Oil Udder. And then I'll let Kevin, I'll hand it off to him here with the 3D printed injection molding and all that stuff.
Okay.
But that's how it started.
Nice.
Yeah, it was written, and Elliot doesn't really mention, we started to learn that the back end of Amazon, you can get data. And so looking in the space as far as what's selling, how much people are spending, we looked at some prototypes and you go, holy shit, excuse me, but holy crap, they're using, they're selling 180 a month, and they're selling 500 a month, and it doesn't do near what we want. And they're selling 1,000 a month. And we're going, well, 1,000 a month times a $30 product, that's pretty good money for a simple product. And so the two did come together. We didn't just decide we completely wanted to invent something without really digging. We saw two sides of the coin. One was there's a problem that we think we could solve pretty cleverly. And two, there was a pull from Elliot doing investigation with Amazon and just, what's selling in this space, how many are people buying? And that was the push pull that kept us going down that product. And we ended up, to Elliot's point, we ended up really getting clever to reduce cost. And, with my design background and solid modeling capability and 3D printers, we were making prototypes for $50, $80 in my basement using 3D printers, and not using the 3D printer to make the part, but actually using the 3D printer to make molds. So I was doing full-blown injection molded pieces to represent the end product. Ultimately, that spun into the data that was then presented to the lawyer after we got it working. So we came up with this real basement R&D cycle that's extremely effective, extremely inexpensive, and really only requires knowledge. And anybody could, with Fusion 360 and some of the other modeling tools, as well as even things like Proto Labs and some of these digital manufacturing venues, inventing I think it's going to be the new sexy thing again, in a weird way, because it's very romantic, considering that you can essentially, we're making money right now, not doing anything. It's very scalable. It's totally possible to develop products in your basement for the first time. It's totally possible to go nationwide with Amazon almost instantaneously. People just don't have the guidance right now, and that's really, I think, the big barrier to people getting started.
And I'm glad that you said that. It's the two things that I think this is perfect. So I think, like you said, with Amazon and just being able to reach not only people across the country, but people in other parts of the world with your product. I'm not sure how much it costs to actually sell these different things on Amazon or whatever the case may be. But it seems like just having that ability is good for the individual inventors and inventors who are starting out and trying to scale that way. And I think, Elliot, I hadn't thought about that, but thought about this, but it is important to be able to see, hey, what is selling? And I had a gentleman, he owns like I want to say a private equity firm, but it's pretty much a company that invests in different startup businesses. And as I interviewed him, this had to be maybe a year or so ago, or close to a year or so ago now. One of the things that he talked about when someone is getting into businesses, is it a market for that, whatever it is that you're trying to sell, or the product that you're trying to sell, or the service that you're trying to provide? Is it a market for it? I think a lot of times when people ask me, because that's one of the things, once you start telling people, hey, you're a patent attorney, the first thing they say is, hey, I have an idea. And if I had $1 for every time I had heard that phrase, I would be rich. But they don't think at all is it an actual market for this idea, regardless of whether it's different in what's being done, regardless of the cost of it. Is it a market to actually really scale this thing? And I've seen firsthand from cases or inventors that I worked with that, if you have the right thing that it's can be marketable to a broad audience and really catch on, you can really scale this thing quick, and it can change your life sooner rather than later, which is why I think patents and just being able to invent something to get a patent on it and use platforms like Amazon to scale it can, like you said, it's as you said, Kevin, it's going to be the new sexy thing that I think over the next 3 to 5 years that people are going to start doing more and more of, especially as they understand that, okay, this isn't that hard to do. If you have, like you said, some guidance, this can actually be done. And this is not like something that you need a lot of money to accomplish. So I guess kind of going back into the oil udder, can you maybe just kind of give a description of what it does and how it does it?
Ellie, you want to grab that one?
Yeah. So it's essentially, in fact, I should have one sitting here now, but it's a it's a rubber funnel made out of nitrile rubber, which is what they use for gaskets that come into contact with fuel. So it's very oil and fuel resistant. It has a ring in the center of it that has a magnet in it, and it essentially magnetically holds itself to an oil filter. You loosen the filter, catches all the oil that would otherwise get all over your hand and your frame and the ground and everything else.
Nice, 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 nice. So, and that seems pretty simple yet an effective way to like I said, avoiding that oil from kind of spilling everywhere. So that actually pretty cool. So then I guess once you guys get a patent on your the invention, I guess what's next? Are you selling it? I guess what's the next process as you guys are going through it? It seems like maybe for the I guess as you guys are building the I guess the company really building things out at this point.
There's a few things going on in parallel, and you have to know when you need a timeout, or you need to know when to stop. That's another thing that you need to a lot of people get so invested in a particular path, and I hate the word pivot. It's such a corporate buzzword, but you need to be ready to pivot, because here's what you do in a very simple form. So after you've eventually developed a prototype and you have some passion for this and you think it's solvable, and maybe you've gone through your patentability study and it's looking good, you can start, and you know the sales price, essentially. Elliot says we're not selling these for $50, but we can probably sell them for more than 20. You know the price range, which then falls back essentially on my plate, which is, what does it cost to get the product like this landed? Can you produce it in the U.S.? Can you not produce it? Does anybody care if it's produced in the U.S.? Which, under $50, under $100, people don't. I know that's a tough pill for people to swallow, but get over it. And what we do is, we start getting manufacturing costs and start compiling up the bill of materials. And if you get something we originally went for a fluorinated silicone, was the best material, and it was going to be like $80 a unit. And we had to do a pivot there on a material change. I mean, nobody's going to buy the product rated. It's not worth it. The problem is not worth $80 to somebody. It's not frequent enough. And it's people just don't care to spend that. And so we went to NBR, which we just spoke about. And that was something that got in a price range that was effective, and you can do it. People worry again about this disclosure issue, because we're pending at this point. We made the decision to be pending at this point. You actually wouldn't have to be, because you can shop out individual components, say on Alibaba, or to individual manufacturers, never disclose the entire product, get essentially your bill of material costs, and go, all right, I am going to eventually, choose one vendor or maybe two, ship raw parts in to assemble, make your choices that way. But you can get prices in parallel before you are maybe a no-go on your patent, or you can get prices before maybe you commit to too much of a tooling cost. And that's really what you're doing after, probably after the patent, but you can actually do it when you're going through the patent process, because, you might all of a sudden come down to, I call it, there's no magic allowed. There's that, and I spoke about this at the Michigan Inventors Coalition, that you are not allowed magic. You're not allowed magic materials, magic assembly processes, magic tooling, magic manufacturing. Like, it's got to be real, and you got to, or magic costs, and that's what people want sometimes too. They want a material that, in the case of oil udder, withstand oil, withstand materials, be sticky, be flexible. Also be transparent. We wanted it to be translucent initially, so you could see the oil. And we had to throw that out the window, because it was going to be $80 a unit, and it was $86,000 just for the material to start. And you're like, gone, not an option. So that's the sort of stuff you do either right after ideally before the patent process, but usually that's happening in parallel with the patent process.
Oh, correct. No, you're exactly right about that. And then, so as you're talking to these different contractors, these different manufacturers of the different material, are you guys having like some type of confidentiality or NDA in place with them as you're talking through this stuff, or how do you guys kind of reconcile that?
We didn't, because they never saw, in the case of the oil udder and not the magic shower, the oil udder, nobody ever saw the end product. They all got one part. And when you're launching an invention, call it our pancake invention, because when you ultimately, and we'll talk about it, you'll compare oil udder versus magic shower. You're talking people that care about changing their oil themselves versus people that have a dog. I mean, the market size is 100-fold. Yeah. it didn't really matter. And so, we shopped out individual parts. Everybody was dealing with an individual component. Who cares about disclosure? They don't care what it is. They just want the sale. I need 1,000 of them, I need 10,000 of them. And then everything was brought in house. I still assemble all of them myself. My favorite thing to do. And there was no NDA. There was no disclosure because nobody ever saw the end product until it was listed.
No, that's a good point.
Magic Shower was different.
Okay. No, yeah, and I was going to say, yeah, as long as you're not like showing anybody or describing in detail to the contractors what it is, the product, then you probably should be okay as far as not having an NDA or confidentiality in place. And the reason, obviously, that's important, more so for the listeners at this point, is at least in the U.S. here, they do give you a grace period of a year to file a patent application once you have a public disclosure, and by describing the invention, to say to someone that's not under some type of NDA or confidentiality agreement, that can start that 1 year, that can trigger that 1 year clock to go on. And then in some countries, because the good thing about patents is you don't have to just only file in the U.S. You can file in China, you can file in countries in Europe and Taiwan, other countries as they make sense from a business standpoint. Some countries actually, they don't allow you that 1 year grace period to file once you have that public disclosure that the U.S. offers. So I guess just something to keep in mind for the listeners as you're looking to come up and participate in this patent process, and as you're maybe talking to other people about your invention. I guess it's always best practice, at least an attorney will tell you to have non-disclosure in place. Just it's always safe to do that. But yeah, in the case where you're not kind of giving the secret sauce away, then that can be a case where it's maybe not as necessary to have something in place with the contractors or the suppliers or whatnot. So you get to the point where you actually have a actual product that you're selling. So do you guys go straight to Amazon, or do you guys try to sell these in different brick and mortar stores? I guess what was that thought process?
So with that, just thinking back to where we were at that stage in the game. So what we did, and Kevin mentioned, and I kind of missed it talking about Amazon, is market research. So getting an idea of, what products are at least in our wheelhouse, what are they selling, was the idea worth it? Then we did IP. And then the step that we missed with Oil Letter was we went straight to video and a website without really getting real world customer feedback on the product.
Okay.
So we were launching on a website. And we launched, I believe, in June of 2020. Now here we are right in the middle of COVID, another thing to consider with this product. And then about a month and a half, 2 months later, we decided to pivot and also sell on Amazon. I had a few coworkers whose spouses sold on Amazon in various capacities, and had some meetings with them. They were the real experts, and then it just made sense to us because on your own website you are going to have to create all the traffic, and on Amazon the traffic is there. You just have to get in front of the people looking for search terms that are going to make them likely to consider to purchase your product. So not initially, but very, very soon. And then it was a slow road and a learning process. I remember I was elk hunting in Idaho, I think it was, and I had no cell phone service, and I had this little Garmin InReach that would get small text messages, and I was having Kevin send me a text every day with what our sales were, and it was like, 1 on this day, and then it was like 0, and I was like, oh, we got 4 today, things are looking up, and then back to 0, and here I am, 11,000 feet looking for elk, and we're just keeping tabs on this thing. But yeah, looking back at it, like the Magic Shower is exclusively Amazon right now. That will change at some point. We're looking into some different things, but Amazon, the way it stands today, should always be highly considered, if not a must do.
No, I believe that wholeheartedly. Amazon they have it set up for you to be successful, and like you said, to the extent that you can get in front of people, it can be a game changer. So, but again, it seems like as you guys are selling this stuff and actually getting sales, that has to be exciting to say, hey man, to go from just an ideal to actual product, and then to sell that product, that man, at least to me, that's a big accomplishment. And obviously to what end, how much you sell, and does it make money? That's, I guess, another story. But to go from something that starts as an ideal, and then finished product and actually being bought by others, it seems like that's a big accomplishment. So in terms of, and I know Kevin, you don't like this word, in terms of pivoting a little bit, how, so now you have the oil order that again is still is still being sold today, and is offered for sale. What made you guys come up to say, okay, let's do the go with the magic shower? How do you guys kind of reconcile that, as opposed to saying, let's continue to put everything in an oil udder and make the best out of that situation, as opposed to saying, okay, let's kind of not pivot, but let's get this other thing going on over here, which is completely different from each other, from the oil udder. The magic shower is completely different. Like you said, the margins seems to be a lot better in the market, and that this thing can be kind of bought and sold in is maybe 100-fold better than the oil udder. But I guess what went into again the magic shower and saying, okay, yeah, let's go after it?
We learned so much launching the oil udder product. I mean, everywhere from how to get attention. I'm not saying we're good at it. I'm learning every day, but it is, to get back to your point, getting your first sales coming in, seeing, the possible dream. We're still grinding right now, but, I over my dead body, am I not, we're not figuring this out, not having 9-to-5s. But what we're learning is, one is getting attention. After you get attention is managing those objections, studying why people don't buy it, building trust, right? Call to actions, those are all, doing those in the right order, spending money in the right order, was the lessons we learned. And when we took those and we ended up saying, okay, this product is, unless a big box store goes after it, like AutoZone or something, it's relatively limited just based on the problem that we solved. I mean, you start cutting off your market, right? The number of people that actually work on their own car, then the number of cars that this unit functions on, and then the number of people that would care to spend the money on that versus, our biggest competitor is doing nothing. We don't have a competitive product, where our competitive product is just a mess, and people are sometimes okay with that, or a rag or a Ziploc bag. And then the market is stubborn, and Elliot can talk maybe more about that. It's a very, very stubborn market. Oil changes, change my oil. My pappy did it this way. It's like, all right, man, don't use it. And then you start looking at dog products, and you go, 65 million dogs, just the United States alone. Almost everybody has a poor dog washing experience. Again, our KISS engineering principles, like keep it simple, stupid. Like, we don't do products with electronics and batteries and complicated stuff. We're doing very simple things.
Nope.
And you start going, all right, we can either spend the money on growing magic shower, which has a ceiling effectively, unless we try to crack through that ceiling, which is going to be a lot of work by getting into Home Depot or something. Or we take that money and we go and take the knowledge that we've learned and we put it into something that's got a much, much bigger opportunity. And that's the choice we made.
Nice. And again, it seems like, kind of even adding to what you're saying, it's, I'm not sure. I don't have a dog. Well, yeah, I grew up with a dog, and unfortunately, we probably didn't give the dog as many baths as it should over his life. But it seems like, people wash their pets pretty frequently. So this is not something that people may be using once every 6 months or once every a long period of time, but they will use often, or pretty often, which kind of helps out as well in terms of wanting the best experience. So I guess, can one of you guys explain just maybe in a description of what the magic shower is?
Yeah. So, I mean, ironically enough, the first prototype of the magic shower was an oil udder double XL. So, I mean, it went up to your shower head, and like we used some of those tie things to tie it up and put a tube on it, and then I remember washing my dogs with it at the time. and it works really well. And then when you're done, you can clean your shower, clean all the hair around. But essentially, as Kevin likes to put it, it is a beer bong for your shower head.
Great
It's as simple as that. But it folds inside itself, kind of like a collapsible dog bowl, and the tube coils inside it, making it really compact for storage, portable and easy to take with you if you're traveling. And that's it. It's a gentle gravity shower for your pet. And nowadays, more people or less people have tubs. Custom showers are becoming more common, things like that. And we have a competitor on Amazon, which is where this journey originally started, where looking at their data, they're selling a ton and they're solving a similar problem. So we just looked at it as to, okay, how can we solve this problem also, but do it more simple and make it more gentle for the pet.
Nice. So then, and this is, I guess, maybe a question I would like to ask, just because, especially when you have something that is working, that is so effective and is selling a lot, making money for the patent owner or for the product owner, a lot of times you will get people who, copycats and things like that. I guess maybe the first question is, how do you guys kind of stay on it, whether it's maybe kind of developing, I guess, newer products around this particular area? How do you guys kind of do things to kind of stay competitive or stay at the forefront with, I guess, again, a magic shower with this particular product?
We expect imitators to come in. You can't be scared of it.
Yep.
It's the bottom line. Get over it.
No.
And that's not a statement to you, but it's like to any inventor who's like, well, I'm going to make $0 on an idea because I'm scared of getting it out there and somebody stealing it. Like, I used to look at patents and design around them. People do that. That's one of my jobs for a while. And it's like, okay, so you need to focus on just making the product worth, get into a price point and get, people call it brand. Brand's usually way later. You got a label. Getting out there. But as far as actual like infringement related stuff, and then as far as competitive stuff, we actually have a hidden product roadmap for the product that isn't live yet. And so the product has not only accessories, consumables on the way to make it more of a reason, but it's also got some design changes. And we want to, it's not going to change the product in a very big way, but it's going to give it, like, say we get a Chinese competitor that comes in and rips us off, and we're waiting on the patent office right now to do anything. And what do we do at that point? Well, one of the most effective things we might do is actually update the product slightly to make the Chinese competitor, which isn't going to be innovative, it's going to be a copy. Well, now we're going to have another leg up on them. And so can you do that with every product? Not necessarily, but based on the fact that the oil udder was stolen. We woke up one day and there was us and there was like 7 companies and it was and you panic, right? It's like, oh my God. And it ended up just not, I don't want to say it wasn't that big of a deal, but it's something that you just plan for. And, you kind of take it with a bit of pride. It's like, hey, I got it's out in the shop right now. Like, I framed that. Like, it's there. Like, this is my Chinese knockoff. Like, holy crap. They put somebody to spend all this time to actually rip off, our idea. And you're kind of proud of it. Obviously there's horror stories, like the balloon guy, but, and I guess maybe this is a little philosophical, but it gets into, maybe the idea isn't big enough for them to even care, but it's big enough to make a huge impact change in your life. And even if you've got a regular job, what if you're making $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 a year extra on the side? And we don't talk about, it's really kind of taboo and not cool to talk about lowering the bar. But when you think of it, if you lower the bar away from $1 billion idea, which is what most people consider a product to be, like, oh, I'm going to make millions and millions. How about this? We ask this question a lot. What if, and the oil udder was like this, what if I took 75% of your salary? I gave you 75% of your salary and all your benefits, and you had to work 2 days a week. Would you do it? And that becomes, the big motivation for me and Elliot, because now we got time. Are we making a lot of money? No, not a lot with that, but I got 3 days to figure out how to make more. I also got 3 days to enjoy myself. I got meetings I don't have to be in. I got commutes I don't have to do. And it gets into a total, and then maybe back to one of our original comments, kind of a sexy lifestyle and a unique way to do things is you get your time. And if your product and the idea is big enough to have an impact or an impact on your life, it could still be totally worth pursuing. And, we consider people to think that way a little bit, especially what we call the pancake invention, your first one that you kind of screw up. That was the oil letter for us. And yeah, it's been fun. We want to go huge with the magic shower, of course. But it doesn't have to be, that's almost like a piece of it's like, if you're not going to bat 1,000, no MLB player bats 1,000. And why should you think about inventing as batting 1,000? That's how everybody thinks about it. We take a different philosophy.
No, and I'm glad actually that you put it that way, kind of even going back to what you said. And it sounds like you said that with the experience of, again, somebody trying to knock our product off. That's just a part of the game as far as, the game hasn't begun until the product has been knocked off, because that means you have something that's worth knocking off, as you put it, which is something that you should take pride in. But again, it's just a part of the game. Like you said, you have patents as an engineer with companies that you're literally trying to design around. So to think that, okay, you having a product and somebody's not trying to maybe design around your product or whatever the case may be, that isn't happening, then I'm like, hey, let's not be naive. As long as it's kind of done in a way that, hey, it's nothing illegal going on, then hey, it's fair game, and let's kind of go after it. And even going back to what you were saying about, hey, it has to be make $1 billion for it to be successful. Man, I've seen somebody literally, and I've helped this the company, the guy who he had a patent on a water slide, and man, this guy, he was a masonry, so kind of dealing with brick and kind of laying brick and stuff like that for a living. And he was selling so many of these things on Amazon to the point where he had to quit his job and kind of built the pole barn and doing this stuff himself. And they making like $600,000 a year off this thing. Now he had a beautiful house built off the lake. And so this is like kind of what can really happen. And I don't think it's a one-off thing or a far-fetched story, but this is like a real possibility that I have seen happen multiple times, and that can actually happen. As long as kind of you're going about things the right way and kind of implement a lot of the things that you guys are talking about and going about it the way that you guys have gone about it, which is it's pretty cool. So I guess kind of, and I want to again be respectful of your time. I know we're coming up on 50 minutes here. So I guess as it relates to the magic shower, I guess where does that stand? Has that kind of picked up the way you guys have expected it, with kind of putting more into it, not more into it, but just kind of learning from the mistakes that you guys have made with the oil udder and implementing kind of those things to maybe avoid some pitfalls and kind of selling it again exclusively on Amazon at this point in time. Has that been a success as you guys envision, or kind of where does that stand at this point?
It's completely different than the oil udder. The market is just so much bigger. We still went through growing pains early on, just with having to tweak some things with the supplier, with the plastics we were using and the tube we were using. But as it stands now, the product is getting really good feedback on Amazon in terms of reviews. And we're just dialing that whole process in with advertising and different things to make sure we're converting and being efficient on Amazon. But it's a much larger market, to say the least. And when we really did our hard launch earlier this year, I mean, the line was up and to the right every month, and it's stabilized a little bit now. And now we're at a point where we need to get more eyes on it. So we're looking into influencers, talking with some different folks, some Amazon Live stuff, and shows like this, going on podcasts, doing things like that to just try to get more awareness for the product and drive outside traffic to Amazon. But that's really where it's at. It's for sale. It's full throttle. And it's, all things considered, going really well.
Nice.
And I wanted to add a small piece to it too. And it's something that, especially as a small time inventor, you can learn a lot of life lessons and apply it to inventing and launching products. And one of them is intent versus how it's received. And that's almost something that you have to get the product out there. And, even like in the dating world, right? you can think you are communicating in a particular way and it's being received in a completely different way. And inventing is no different. And it takes that time to make sure that, your intent of what you want to say doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. It's how it's received. And so you have to spend so much time on how it's received and make sure that you're getting real information, honest information, a lot of times information you don't want to hear, to make sure you can make those corrective actions. Again, just like the dating world, hey, that's what I meant. But this is how it was taken. In the case of the magic shower, we sent out a package. It's got a box, it's got instructions, it's got pictures, and people were missing and are still missing one of the best features and one of the points. And so you need to re-rank, refocus, and replace your messaging. And it has nothing to do with the product at that point. The product's got an iterative cycle where you get it out there, there's issues with it, you make corrections, you get it back. And then after that, you've got your messaging and your marketing cycle that you need to start doing a loop on. And that's really what we're digging into now, when it comes to what the product needs, what we need to say to get people excited, to keep it attractive, to get people willing to pull the trigger on something that still at this point has low trust. And I keep doing the dating example because it's something I'm involved with right now. And you're starting with a very low trust factor. And so what you say and how you act can have a big impact, because it's not like you're getting a lot of recommendations from the side right now. So that's where we're at with Magic Shower, and we know the changes we need to make. We definitely know some messaging changes. We don't have too many product changes at this point. We know the product performance is very good, but people don't get it. And you would be surprised how simple a product you can launch and people still don't get it. You get Inventor's Periscope, right? People get it. Send it out there. It sells itself. Like, no, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. It's very iterative. Yeah.
No, and I like that. And I think that's definitely some good points. And it seems like you guys are definitely well on your way with the Magic Shower for sure, as well as the oil udder. So it seems like in wrapping things up, I know, Evan, you had talked about it a little bit as far as kind of some takeaways. But I guess, do you guys both just kind of have takeaways for like the audience and the listeners as they're kind of really considering, okay, jumping into this whole, patents, the inventorship, this side of things, and trying to really secure that financial freedom, whether it's money, whether it's time, or both. Some things for them to consider as they're looking to jump into things.
Yeah, I can go first, and I'm really gonna lean more to the sales side of it. And Kevin touched on this a little bit ago, but if you are going down the product, the invention, bringing it to market, e-commerce, all that, listen to your customers. I think early on, like Kevin said, Inventor's Periscope, it's like it makes so much sense to you, but that's because you've been there since the identification of the problem, through the prototyping, through the use of it, that is just natural to you. See what they're saying and don't assume that they're alone. And, sometimes it's product changes, but a lot of times it's just messaging. How are we presenting our features on Amazon? Are people seeing the feature that could improve their experience, or is it last and they just miss it? And then same thing with collateral, packaging, instructions. Listen to your customers. That would be my biggest advice from a sales and marketing perspective.
And I'd say mine, I always start a little philosophical. It's just kind of who I am. But, I ask myself, why am I on this planet? What is the point? And, a lot of it's to enjoy myself and, enjoy myself, go places, travel with somebody. One of the big motivators for me to keep going is, you see numbers like our competitive product hitting, $250,000, $300,000 a month. And then you combine that over 4 products, you're looking at $1 million a year or $1 million a month in 4 products, I think, or maybe 5 products just on Amazon alone. So it's huge. It's huge for the Magic Shower. And so when you think about what kind of life can you have, and in my opinion, what kind of freedom can I have? I don't need a ton of money, but I would love enough money to, have somebody not work with me, travel, be able to work from anywhere in the world, And if that is eating you alive on the inside, like it eats me alive on the inside, then go for it. And just be open to feedback. Like Elliot said, aggressive positivity really helps. Be ready to change. Bad news does not get better with time. So it's okay to change. It's okay to pivot. There's the word again. But try it. Get out there. Put something out there. Learn. And I have an FIO attitude. I call it is figure it out. And actually I put another F in front of it, which I won't say on here. And it's anything, whether it's figuring out how to import. I didn't know how to import. I don't know how to import anything. I screwed up the first one. We spent $5,000 on fines because I botched the import paperwork. All right. The sun rises. The sun rises. You will be alive. If you screw up something in the process, nobody's going to eat you. Nobody, you're not going to get eaten the next day. So what are you waiting for? 6 months from now, you wish you started 6 months ago. So quit making a weak excuse and do it. Don't buy a new car and do an invention. So, I know that's not a lot of real detail stuff, but, and then the other part of it is, and back to one of our original, how did Elliot and I end up colliding, is get offsetting support. Elliot keeps me going. I keep Elliot going. We have different perspectives on a lot of things. And I always tell this, two engineers doing a product and a business together is a terrible idea. I'm not the best business guy in the world by any means, but when you've got somebody in sales and somebody in engineering, you make a pretty good team. So I recommend doing it with a team, but only do it with the person that, let's say, to kind of wrap up, that person you got to call at like 11:30 at night because you need to move out of the house. Or there's the one person, your friend or the person you trust that will be there, that always picks up the heaviest box first, that always takes the crappiest job, when that's the person you need to go into business with. Because if you're going into business with somebody that wants to make money, I think you're going to go down a pretty hard road. Because, if Elliot was, not helping me out and I wasn't helping Elliot out, I don't think either of us would be here. So.
Oh, no, and I think both of those are great points, and definitely how you said it, Kevin, as far as not necessarily on the detail. I think the details that come, especially as they, as people kind of do more and more of these things, as far as invent things and come up with different products and stuff like that. But just having that initial push to kind of get them going, I think what you said was perfect for that. So I know with the oil udder and both the magic shower, we can both get those on Amazon, and I would definitely put those links when the video comes out here or when the podcast comes out here. But do you guys have like a website for both the magic shower and the oil udder that people can go to if they're interested in it, or just kind of interested in following you guys just overall?
Yeah, so we do. So there's oiludder.com. So that's udder, UDDER. And then there's themagicshower.com. That one's still under a little construction. We only sell it on Amazon currently. And then Kevin, Dream Machine.
It's really funny, to keep it short. I just started, because of the podcast and the interest and some of the we've been getting more and more interest as people want to talk to us. I just started a public Instagram, and I came up with an interesting name. Yeah. And I don't even have one follower yet because I just started about 20 minutes before we finished this, because I've been asked quite a bit, and it's called Quitter's Paradox. And I've been sober for 6 months and, making some improvements on my personal side, working out a lot more. And, but I've made a lot in the last year. I've made a lot more progress by what I stop doing than what I start. And so that's where the name came from. So if you're crazy enough to follow me on, or follow us on Quitter's Paradox, it's kind of a funny play on, what stopping doing some things can lead to versus starting everything. So connect with me on there.
No, that's perfect. I think that's definitely a good way to end things. Well, gentlemen, I appreciate you both for stopping through, talking to the audience, talking to me. I actually learned a lot of just kind of not only about you guys, but just the magic shower, the oil udder, and about just kind of really the process as well. Because as a patent attorney, a lot of times, hey, we don't get involved with manufacturing. We don't get involved with dealing with contractors and suppliers. That's more so the business side of things. But anything related to the IPs, to the patents, that's kind of more so our niche. So just kind of learning more as a patent attorney from that side of things. That was pretty cool for me to learn today. So no, yeah, again, we will put those different handles at the when the video and the podcast comes out. We will put those handles up for people to go be able to follow you guys, and definitely interested in of what's to come. It seems like you guys are just getting started with just inventing and the different products that you guys are coming out with. That hey, I understand that you guys are not maybe in this all for the money, but hey, I have no doubt that the money will come at some point and at some point soon. So thanks again for stopping on, and to y'all family, hopefully you guys enjoyed it, and until next time, take care.
Thank you.